Personally, I'm somebody who's always been very sensitive to the idea of haters, especially when they're people who are close to me, like close family and friends. I would let the idea of somebody who I thought was supposed to support me not being happy for my success, I would let that eat me alive and make me very angry, very bitter, very resentful. And before you know it, I'm not even enjoying the fruits of my own success because I'm spending way too much time of the day upset thinking about how this person was trying to hurt me. And I'm not talking about any specific person. I mean, hypothetically, I'm thinking about my history and my experience with haters. My experience has always been a negative reaction to it. The reason I'm bringing this up now is because I feel like as I'm aging, I'm finally starting to get a grip on how to deal with this appropriately. So I want to share my insight with the listeners, or for anybody listening, who knows, maybe it could help them and they could apply it to their life as well. When you're starting to do well and you're starting to achieve things that you want to achieve, you would think that everybody would be cheering you on, but you're going to get a mix of love and hate from people. You're going to get both extremes more. You're going to get a lot of love and cheering from people, but with that, simultaneously, a lot of hate and jealousy and anger from people. This is something that always used to upset me. And as I'm getting older, I'm finding I'm able to detach myself more from it and keep doing what I have to do. So I wrote a list of 3 tips to help people with this issue if they are also very sensitive and get their feelings hurt easily at the idea of people not supporting them. The first tip I wrote here is stop telling people what you're doing. I know that for me, that's a tough one because I think the reason people even get themselves in a situation where they feel hurt is because when they first initially break into something successful, like they recorded their own album or they had a desire to lose weight and they had been struggling and they finally lost the weight, whatever your specific goal is, I feel like a newbie they want to go around and parade this because they're proud of themselves and they want to get that love and cheer and validation and support from people, which I think is a normal and healthy thing. Now, again, you don't want to brag necessarily, but you just want to feel like I did it. I mean, really at the core of it, it's like, mommy, look, I did it. Mommy, daddy, look, be proud. Like that's really what it is at the core. But as I've gotten older, I found that it's not that you can't ever show these parts of you. It's not like you can't be yourself and you can't show up, or it's not even like you can't post it on social media as a way to inspire other people who want to achieve the same thing. So you can do those things, sure. But as far as going to individual people and talking about your success or your plans for success, especially for people who have a goal or a vision in mind, and they want to share that excitement with people around them, my recommendation is don't. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but in my opinion, I think it's best just to work silently because, again, you might show these things on social media or you might just show up in life and people happen to notice the things you've attained. But when you go to people personally and privately, one-on-one, and tell them your plans, then you're giving them a direct access to try to deter you from your success. If you want to quit your 9-to-5 job and start your own business, don't tell your parents, don't tell your friends, you can maybe tell your significant other, but even sometimes depending on the health of that marriage or relationship, that might not be a good idea. If that's the case, you shouldn't be in that relationship. But regardless, I recommend not really telling much people at all. Just work silently. And when you achieve the thing you achieve, they're just going to see it and they're going to have to deal with it. But in the process, don't just keep it privately. It's hard because when you're excited about something, it only makes sense to want to have love and support. But unfortunately, it's very rare to find people who will support you. And if you do have friends and family who do support you, cherish them like gold because they are very rare. My second tip for this is to learn how to detach yourself emotionally completely in a stoic kind of way. Now, I know that's obviously a lot easier said than done, and it took me years to be able to start doing this. But if you have trouble with this, I would recommend not starting with detaching yourself emotionally from friends and family with this. just accept if you're angry and hurt by lack of support from friends and family, that might not be a good place to start. But where could be a good place to start is strangers and mental ruminations. If you can't start with present situations, you could at least start with past situations and ruminations. So what I did was, every time I have a rumination based on an event that happened in the past like that, I'll just stop and say out loud, I see you, I acknowledge you, I see you there. And I find just the act of saying, I see you, you're ruminating, I see you're doing it, practicing that awareness, I think is a huge step to changing the habit and learning how to detach emotionally. Now, the next step after that has been helping me is now applying it to real life situations. And to me, the easiest place to start is with strangers. So for example, the other day, I made a phone call to make a doctor's appointment for an allergist. When the lady answered the phone, she answered the phone with, hello, Asthma Institute, or whatever it was called. And I was like, hi, I just want to double check, you guys do allergies, right? And she kind of responded with like we are an allergist, like duh. Like, she didn't say duh, but you could just feel the vibe and the energy. It was kind of like she was being a bitch, you know? I feel like the older me would have barked back and just gotten nasty back to try to defend myself, because I was very sensitive to that hatred coming towards me. But instead, I just it's not that you can't defend yourself. You can defend yourself, but I just did it with a neutral emotional response. I wasn't fakely nice to her. I was just very neutral. Oh, I'm sorry. When you answered the phone, you only said asthma, so I wasn't sure if that also was inclusive of allergies. I just said it really simple. No nasty tone back, no overly friendly tone back. And she kind of just calmed down. She was like, oh yeah. She was like, that makes sense. Like, she just kind of chilled out after that. In that situation, that was a good place to start in practice, rather than me thinking like it was all about me. This lady probably deals with idiots all day long. So she probably already is stuck in her own, everybody's just stuck in their own head and their own ruminations and their own issues and their own lives. So whatever is going on in their head, sometimes that hatred has nothing to do with you. All that rage came from somewhere else. So once you start being aware of that and practicing this with strangers, to observe and not to react emotionally, but just not emotionally, it then becomes easier to transfer that sentiment and energy towards family as well. So now I apply those same thoughts to family and friends and people like that. I'm like, okay, if something I said triggered or upset this person and they're not happy for me for some reason or way or another, they have their own inner world going on. And there's no way that my one success is responsible for all this energy. They have whatever this energy is, it's coming from so many different sources, not just me. So it's much, much harder to do with friends and family, but it's when you get good at it, it becomes easy to do it with random strangers, and it becomes easier to just name your own mental ruminations. Okay, so my final tip in regards to all this is keep doing what feels right intuitively for your path, despite what anybody else says. Follow your intuition and follow what feels right. That could sound confusing and very broad, because what the hell is intuition? That could also go in bad directions. So, okay, my intuition is saying I should eat a pint of ice cream. Should I just follow it? You know what I mean? So that could be confusing. So what I mean by that is specifically with artistic endeavors and life trajectories. So for example, I'll give an example from my own life. I'm a musician, I'm a pianist, and I love playing classical piano. When I play classical piano, it feels good. It feels right. I feel electrically charged. I feel alive. I feel spiritually connected. I feel amazing. When I started observing all the musicians around me, my colleagues and my peers my age doing their thing, I noticed most of them were doing R&B, funk, pop music, rock music, punk music, and very few of them were doing classical music. And furthermore, I overheard some people that I really respect saying that they hate classical music, that it's boring, they don't like it. It's depressing, it's dreadful, it's outdated, it's lame, etc. Because of that, for a few years, I actually stopped playing classical piano because I thought that, wow, everybody around me is saying there's no use for it. I guess it really doesn't have a place in society. So it doesn't matter if I like it. No one's going to listen to me play it because it's just not popular anymore. So I'm going to have to start learning popular genres today. I stopped playing classical for a few years, and I do love R&B and I do love funk music. I just love music in general. So I'm not saying a lot of that music does make me feel happy and does make me feel alive. But if I had to weigh out the meter, like the electric meter from 0 to 100, it's like that music makes me feel 80% alive, which is good. But when I play some classical songs, particularly Bach, I'm a huge fan of Bach and Chopin and other classical composers as well. But Bach really does it for me for some reason. It's like I'm 120% charged. Like I'm over the limit emotionally. And it's like I let go of that part of myself because I was worried about what other people would think. So I think that's what I mean by follow your intuition. I'm not saying every intuitive impulse is correct. There's definitely impulses that can lead you down a negative direction. But I'm talking more those things that when you do them, you know they feel good. You know they feel right. And you can apply this to other things. Let's say you're trying to lose weight, right? All of a sudden, everybody has to insert their opinion about what's right for you. Oh my God, you should try keto. Oh my God, you need to do vegan. Oh my God, you need to do paleo. Let's say you give one of these things a shot and you find that paleo is the only thing that works for you and the only thing that makes you feel good and the only thing that makes you feel energized. But the studies say that whatever, you know what I mean? The studies say that you're not going to get these nutrients, and it's like, shit, well, whenever I do this, I feel amazing. So despite what the studies say, it's like, be a scientist for your own life and your own body and listen to your body and your intuition and what it's telling you, what feels good. So I don't know. That would be my final advice for how to deal with haters, is just keep doing you, what feels right to your intuition, and accept that you're going to piss some people off. I mean, think about any successful person. I mean, just think about the two presidents, like presidential candidates, or should I say. You have Donald Trump and you have Kamala Harris. Literally, like at this point, I want to say it's 50-50 for the most part. You have like 50% of the people in the United States love and hate both of these people, but both of them are successful people doing their thing. So it's like the more you step into your own individual purpose and your own individual path in life, you're going to possibly create that polarity of reactions in people. You know what I mean? If you just make everybody happy, you're kind of just going to be an average blob of nothing, like, because you're not going to stand out in any kind of way. So you kind of just have to accept that the more you step into yourself, 50% of your friends and family are going to die off, but you're going to gain replacement of what died off with more love that's even stronger.